We are so glad to see everyone this afternoon to celebrate this very happy day for our family member, friend, colleague, and someone we hold very dear, Jim Barber. Let's hear it for Jim. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Emily Williams. Jim and I have been friends for over 20 years, and we work together at Church of Power. And I was honored to be asked to come down here to be a part of this book launch party today. As we get started, let me tell you what's going to happen. We're going to have a very short program, and I'm going to interview Jim, ask him some questions, after which he will do a book signing over here while everyone enjoys dessert and coffee. So it looks really fabulous back there. I also want to welcome anyone on Facebook who has joined us via Facebook. It is streaming live right now on Facebook. So welcome to you as well.
I'm also going to interrupt for a second, but it may not be streaming live. All right. There's two buttons back there. There are two buttons. If you press one is record and then one is like the Wi-Fi button. They're kind of side by side. If you press that, it will start the Facebook Live thing. And that's important because we have a lot of people that want to do that today. And if someone wants to turn on their Facebook and start streaming their live, they'll give it a little double click. That's really helpful too.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification. Wonderful. As some of you may know, there were some advanced reviews of Jim's book, Plowed Fields. How many of you know who Janice Daughtry is? Okay, she is a writer, she's an author, and one of her books, Earl in the Yellow Shirt, was nominated for Pulitzer in 2010. And when you're nominated, it actually means you are one of 40 finalists. So she is an excellent writer, and she reviewed Plowed Fields, and this is what she said. She compared the quality of his writing to that of Lonesome Dove, and she says in the review, Jim Barber is a master storyteller. We consider that very high praise from someone who knows that. A lot of you do know that the book went live on Amazon March 6th or 7th. Okay, now, the world of book sales can be a little confusing, and there are different indicators. But since about 30 to 40% of the books sold now are sold in the U.S. or sold through Amazon.com, that's a pretty good analytic. Okay. Looking at the initial numbers of book sales and extrapolating an estimate of all the books that are being sold exclusively on Amazon in the first 2 weeks after Plowed Fields was published, it would rank between 30 and 35 in Southern fiction category for March. Okay, to put that in perspective, Nicholas Sparks occupies positions 26, 29, and 30. So, okay. Now, what you can do to help that number get even better is you can do a review of Plowed Fields on Amazon.com. And another thing that I would suggest that I have already done, I live in North Carolina now, and I recommended to my local public library, I requested that they buy the book for the North Carolina library system. Okay, you can do that too for your libraries wherever you are, is do a recommendation on the book. So that would be super. All right, let's get started then. All right, Tim, you ready?
Absolutely.
Okay. Those of you who know, Jim doesn't like public speaking all that much, so be kind to him. Okay. All right, let's get started. Tell us about your novel. What it's about and what people can expect.
So, Plowed Fields is a family saga. It is set on a South Georgia tobacco farm between the years 1960 and 1970. Is anyone ever familiar with, I don't forget his name now, Jan Carey? Jan Carey writes a series called Mitford Books, and one of the things Jan Carey says is that she likes to write books that people can live in. And so I very much hope that this is the kind of book that people can live in. I like to think of it as a family coming of age story, and and it's a long book. If you can foster a copy, you know that. Someone out there said, "Oh, there's a copy of War and Peace out here," and I said, "Well, I'll bet it's a little bit longer than that." So, but you know, I like to say that it's kind of a literally page from innocence to evil, from good to sin, maybe, and so I think you'll enjoy it. If you love family sagas, you should enjoy this book.
All right, I just have to throw this in. Jan Garrett, to whom he referred, actually went to my high school in North Carolina, a generation before I graduated, of course. But, and Mitford series is set in Floyd Rock. That's the actual Mitford. So, okay, so what was the genesis of Plowed Fields?
Yeah, so, you know, I grew up, I never really wanted to write novels. I enjoyed writing always, but I wanted to be a newspaper reporter, and that's what I became. So I think it was in 1985, I was probably in my first or second year of reporting, and I had been covering this long point story about a veteran sheriff in Middle Georgia, and this is a controversial guy, and he has suffered a massive stroke that left him bedridden, so he can't really do his job. And anyway, the story finally came to an end, and he was actually removed from office. That's what happened. They had to remove him from office. And so anyway, I finished the story of that day, and I was driving home back to, we were living in Dublin, Georgia at the time, taking out my first year of marriage. And as I was driving home that day, you know, it was this really beautiful spring day, flowers beside the road, one of those blue skies and everything. And I was kind of caught up in thinking about this guy and the people he had people who really loved him, and he had people who really hated him. And they were so sure that they were both right. And I was also kind of, the idea kept running around my head about people being caught up in something beyond their control. And honestly, as I was driving along there, it's like being assaulted by a story. It just kind of flew into my head, and I thought, from start to finish, I could just picture it. And I thought, wow, I got to write this down. And so that was like on a Wednesday or Thursday. As luck would have it, as I was driving home that night, this was back in the days when I still had a record store. So I stopped in the record store, and I bought my very first U2 album. I love the group U2. And one of their songs on that album had the phrase "Plowed Fields" in it. And I heard that, and I was like, wow, that's the name of this book that I'm supposed to write. And so that was on a Wednesday or Thursday. On Saturday morning, I went into our back bedroom. Becky had to go to work. I went into our back bedroom. I wrote down, I outlined the major characters in the book, and I outlined the story as I saw it, the key elements. And I will tell you, if we were to look at that red composition book today, the story that I wrote is practically the same story that I had to document all those years ago. It took me, let's see, that was in 1985. It took me to 1995 to write the book. And then it took me 3 more years to rewrite the book. And so that's kind of how it came to be.
There are, and I admittedly did read one of the early drafts of the book. Joe Baker is the main character. J.B. Jim Barber. Both grew up on tobacco farms in South Georgia. Both became newspaper reporters. So is the novel autobiographical?
Well, I'm glad she asked that question, and I actually asked her to ask that question. You know, it's funny. It never occurred to me that someone would just assume because you wrote a book that it's autobiographical, because I don't typically say that to something. But very early on, when I told you I finished the book in 1995, spent 3 more years rewriting it. On the advice of a really great author who was here today, Sam Hayes. Sam told me to said don't send it to a publisher, try to find an agent. Well, it turns out finding an agent is harder than finding a publisher. So I sent it to multiple agents, and one of the many rejections I got back, this particular agent said she was worried the book was too autobiographical to be very good. And then she said, you know, Jim Barber and Joe Baker. And honestly, it never hit me at all, you know, when someone makes a comparison. Now that I think back, Jim Barber, Joe Baker, I guess you can see that. But it is not autobiographical at all. No doubt some of who I am is in the book. I mean, I don't think anybody can write a book without part of them being in there. But if it is, it's more probably in the values that are portrayed and maybe some of the films. In terms of actual events, I can literally count on my hand, on 2 hands, right? I can count the number of things that happen in real life that made it into the book. And that's stretching it because something happened in real life. This little piece, and then I took it and made something much bigger about it. So it's not a biography by any stretch. There is one scene in there. It is set, I told someone this earlier, the book is certainly set in South Georgia. It's set in the county where I grew up in, although the name is different, but that was what I was thinking about. It's set on the farm where my dad was raised, but I took the farm and kind of made it much bigger than it really is. And see, I think that's good.
So, yet there are a lot of similarities.
A lot of similarities. There's one thing I want to mention. There is one story in there that is actually almost the truth. It involves a scene, almost real, I guess. It involves a scene where Joe Baker and his best friend are camping by a pond, okay? And some of that did happen. It's embellished a bit, but one thing I have to say, even though she has read the book, my mom has read the book, Mom, I want to assure you that Joe and I, Jerry Moose, Jerry Moore and I were not out drinking that night when this happened.
Where is Jim's mom? Raise your hand. Stand up. All right. Those of you who have known Jim very long, you probably have gotten into a conversation with him about his favorite TV show, The Waltons. Exactly. All right. When you read the book, you will probably see some similarities, perhaps, between the Walton family and the Baker family. And in some of the early reviews, that similarity had been mentioned. How do you feel about that?
Well, she actually reviewed the book. Him and I edited the book together years and years ago, called Atlanta Women Speak, and so she gave me a review, and she made that comparison. I got to tell you, that is like the most flattering thing in the world to me, because The Waltons was my favorite TV show. It is my favorite TV show. It's one of those I watch over and over again, and there are definitely some similarities between the two things. I think the family and the characters, for the most part, are very wholesome in Plowed Fields. But that said, and one of the things I really liked about The Waltons was, yeah, it was a TV show, but people think of it as kind of sweet and saccharine maybe, but they actually address very hard issues. And they also were one of the first shows to really take people who love each other and make them butt heads a lot. And so I like that about it. So yeah, there's definitely some comparisons there, and I hope Plowed Fields has kind of a similar feel to that. But I will tell you, Plowed Fields definitely takes a darker turn than The Waltons did. It's a little bit darker, but it's also grounded, like I say, in that whole foundation of wholesomeness I hope all the way through.
Well, speaking of dark moments, there are quite some in the book that broke my heart and left me rattled a little bit as I read them. Jim, you're a positive, happy guy, even through dark times in your life. I've seen you remain positive. So as a writer, what did you experience as you wrote the dark moments?
So I'll say this, if I was writing this book today, I might not could write the same book. I started it so long ago, but when you spend as much time as I spend with those characters, it is kind of hard, even though they're make-believe people, we don't know them, they're clearly fiction, it's still hard to make bad things happen to good people. And I grew close to them, and it kind of hurts sometimes to do some of the things that happen to the people. But all that said, every single character in that book, whether it's Joe Baker, the main character, or other main characters, or people that appear for a paragraph and disappear, every character had a purpose. They had a purpose to achieve. They had a mission in that book. And I kind of feel that way about us. We all have a purpose and mission, right? So when it came time for them to fulfill their purpose and mission, if it was it was still tough to write. It was very tough to write. And I will say this: when you read the tough scenes, I hope they come across as very real. And honestly, when you read the tough scenes, I hope that Em just said that it rattled her a little bit. I hope you feel a little bit rattled by it too, and you're kind of wondering, why the heck did that happen that way?
Yeah, thank you. The book has been described as a novel written in episodes, stories within stories, if you will, that build on the next. So the book it takes place in the 60s. The end of the book, it is 1970, and you've spent a lot of some time and energy investing in these characters. And what happens next? What happened to the Baker family after the end of the book? So is there a sequel in you?
Well, is Elisa Ensley here? Okay, no, she's not here. So, Elisa Ensley is one of my good friends from Fortune Power, and yeah, she, as she said, I wrote a book that she had to go into weight training to prepare to read, so that she could hold the book up. And I'm flattered that anyone would wonder, would there be a sequel to this book? Now, I will tell you, in my mind, I know exactly what happens to the Baker family. I could tell you from 1970, from the day it ends in 1970 to right now, I could probably tell you. But I don't know that I'll ever write a sequel. If I did, it would be kind of interesting to take the family through the 1970s, which is when I grew up. And it also would be interesting to take it through the 1980s farming crisis. But I don't know if there will be a sequel. I do want to do some more writing. I'm halfway through another novel. It's based on family photograph, and we'll see if I can ever get that finished. And then, but my first priority is actually a family history of my paternal grandparents that I want to finish.
Cool. Okay. Speaking of future books, sequels, whatever, Jim has had to very much live in the present over the past year. It has been a tough year for you and for those of us who know and love you and watched you go through it. Jim had a very tough battle with throat and neck cancer. So I'm sure there's people in the room right now who'd like to know, how is your health?
Wow. You can get emotional very quick on something like that.
Let's change to a different question again. In terms of takeaways, what do you think that you would like people to take away from the book?
That's an easier question to answer.
No, let me go back. I can talk about that. It wasn't up here. I bet most of you guys know that I had.
Most of you guys know that I had throat cancer, and let's just say I'm really good now. That was just surprising. A lot harder to talk about that.
He told me to ask him that question.
Yeah, so I had no idea anything about the way it did. But, so what I want people to take, well, first off, man, I want you to be really entertained. I mean, it's a big book. It's going to take a huge investment of time to read. So first and foremost, be entertained. I hope you really enjoy it. Beyond that, I want you to take away a true understanding of the sense of where the book is set, because I think it's a pretty special time and place. So I want you to take away that. And then the other thing I guess I would say on that question is, and I'm thinking how I want to say this. So this book cannot be considered Christian fiction by any stretch of the imagination. No way, any stretch of the imagination. But I will tell you this. When I was writing the book, I think one of the guiding thoughts that I had was kind of faith and what faith means to people. And I really wanted to write a book that would challenge your faith and would make you not make it something easy, but something you had to think about. And so I think it really does that. It's like I say, faith is not front and center by any stretch of the imagination. Sometimes it is in the book. There's a couple of places where it's a very blatant talk about faith, but lots of times it's just kind of hovering in the background. And that can be faith in God. It can be faith in yourself. And so I really hope that when people read it, it will maybe cause them to think about their own faith in some sense of some form of fashion.
So we're going to close. We're going to tell people where they can get the book, and then we'll do the book signing. But before we wrap it up, is there anything else on your mind you would like to say?
There is, and I wrote it down, so I'll not forget. So let me tell you first about buying the book. First, man, I am so honored by the people that bought the book. Already, you can buy it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any major book retailer out there, and you can even go on Walmart.com and buy this book, which is pretty amazing. You can buy it through my website, www.jimweber.me. You can buy it through there. But if you're here, you can buy it back there, and I think most of you already have, and get it signed, that's right, so thank you so much for that.
I have the Kindle version, and we decided he couldn't sign my Kindle version.
That's right. So I want to go back to that whole cancer thing, guys. I'm over that little emotional thing. I knew I could get emotional talking about that, but yeah, I had throat neck cancer this year. I had 7 weeks of radiation and chemo. Chemo, man, I just breezed right through that. Radiation just wrecked me. I had to get a feeding tube. You can live without a feeding tube to be able to eat for about 3 months. But I'm better. I mean, I'm feeling really good right now. Like I said earlier, I had a PET scan in December, and that was great. I'll have another PET scan in April. And when you have cancer of any kind, you know, it's at least a 5-year experience. You just have to see where it goes. And so I've had great doctors. I've had great support, and so many people in here have written cards and sent letters and prayers. And man, I can't thank you enough for that. It means a lot. So thank you guys for that. I do want to say, I want to say thank you guys for coming here today. Okay? I'm blown away by this turnout. The turnout far exceeded the RSVP, so thank you guys very much for that. Elisa Inslee, I called you out and you missed it. Man. Anyway, I told them about the fact that we had to go into weight training to read my book. But I am truly honored. One of the bad things about cancer is I have no saliva anymore, so I dry very quickly. But I do want to say thank you guys. It means a lot to me. I want to say thank you to all the people who are watching on Facebook, because I was blown away by the people that said, hey, can we stream this live on Facebook so that we can watch it? I have some cousins in Washington State that wanted to do that. That meant a lot to me. When I say I'm blown away by how many people are here, I mean, please don't take that lightly. I had a guy that came from Tennessee that I worked with 20 years ago, Chuck Griffin, sitting here. I'm just amazed. I have a dear cousins. One came from South Carolina with one of her friends, Grace. Thank you so much. I call them the signed barber girls, but they were third cousins of mine who came from different parts of the state. When I saw them, I almost fell out, just amazed. I've got high school friends that are here today, that some I have not seen in so long. I have people that I have lived my whole life with who are here today. Anyway, I have a, boy, I'm all weedy out today. There's a girl here, 45 years I haven't seen her. She came in. I want to say, so thank you for that. My family's here, my mom, my sister, brother-in-law, nieces and nephews, thank you guys. Yeah, okay, yeah, y'all stand up. Mom, stand up. My sister Kay is here. Kay, she's not going to stand up. I know her. My best friend is here. My best friend from this age. So many. I'm not going to try to single everybody else here. There are a few people I haven't thanked. Jesus, you really think I forget my wife? In fact, she was, after you guys, she was the first person to thank me. I could get very emotional if I started trying to talk about Becky. She organized all this. She is an incredible wife. She's an incredible partner. I am so blessed by her. Listen, I wrote an 800-page book. It's dedicated to Pearl, my bride. That tells you everything you need to know about her. I want to say thanks to my daughters. Two of them are here today, Dana and Tyler, and their significant others. So happy that you guys are here. My mother-in-law is here, and I know some people do not like their mother-in-laws, but my mother-in-law is actually one of my best friends, so thank you for being here, Jimmy. I'm going to break precedence here, Mrs. Wright, and I'm going to say I want to thank the lovely Maria Wright, one of my dearest friends who did the catering for this event today. I hope you guys enjoy the desserts of the labor, I should say. Thank you so much for that. Landon Stansberry, a young man, came here to work the camera and make sure that people could see it on Facebook. I appreciate that. The Carmel Mar Thoma Center, that's where we're having this event at. Most of you may not know this, but my family and I went to church here for 25 years, and we sold this church. Our leadership sold the church back last year, and so the people that bought it were gracious enough to let us come back here and have the event here today. So thank them as well. Especially Josh Jacob. I don't know if Josh is in here, but he helped with the sound, so we appreciate that. I want to thank Em Williams. She said we've known each other since 1998, and she has been one of my dearest friends. I think she alluded to the fact that I don't necessarily like to be front and center, and I knew being able to sit up here and talk with her would make this pretty easy and painless, because when we have lunch, you can guarantee about 20 minutes I was talking about books, so that's something that we know very well. There is someone that's not here today, but I have to mention, and she was supposed to be watching on Facebook. But that is Jane Hill. Jane is the best graphic artist that I know, bar none, and she actually designed the book. She designed the cover of the book, and you know, it's my book, so I'm predisposed to like it, right? But I actually think it's about the best cover I've ever seen on a book. And so she did the cover on that book. She designed the hardback and the paperback, and she also did the trilogy edition covers as well. So thank you, Jane. She had some surgery yesterday, so I really want to appreciate her. Then I also want to encourage you guys to read, if you read the book, read the acknowledgments. There are a lot of people in there that I'm not going to sing right here today, but every one of them has played a big role in getting me to this point and being able to publish this book. So thanks to all of them. And then I guess in closing, you know, when I think about this book, I told you earlier these characters are near and dear to my heart. Well, think about it. They've been with me over half my life. I mean, that's kind of amazing to me. They've been with me over half my life in terms of writing and fiddling with them. And man, I am thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled with this book that's been published. It just makes me happy. There's this real strange sense of loss to it, okay? You know, they're kind of stuck now. Those characters that have been like almost real people to me, they're stuck in the pages of that book. I can't do anything else with them. I can't on a Friday night take them out and fiddle around and change this or change that. They're just forever stuck there. So I want to say this. I hope that when you guys read the book that you enjoy reading it as much as I enjoyed writing, because I never wrote a book to get published. I mean, I wrote a book because a story came to me and I liked to write and I wrote it down. In fact, one of the questions we had talked about, we didn't ask was why it took so long to publish the book. Well, the short answer is nobody wanted to publish it for the longest time. And that just gave me more and more time to fiddle and make it a bigger book, I guess. But, and I know I had a point to all this, but so they wanted to what I was thinking about. But there is a sense, I guess, I think the point I was trying to make, there's a sense of loss here because I've lost the book. But I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed writing, because it was a blast. I had a lot of fun. And the other thing I guess I want to say, you know, in some ways we're not guaranteed much in this life, right? We're not even guaranteed our next breath, but I just feel incredibly blessed, guys. Thank y'all so much for being here.
Jim is going to be over here at this table signing books. They're for sale back there. The signing is here for coffee and beverages. He very quickly mentioned the book is actually published on digital form as an entirety and as a trilogy. Okay, so there's 3 books for the whole book that you could do. Again, thank you for being here today. It's quite a turnout, and I think that's a real tribute to Jim. You just mean so much to him, and many of you mean a lot to me as well. Thank you for being here. Enjoy yourselves, and God bless you.